Live from the Business RadioX studio inside Renaissance Bank, the bank that specializes in understanding you. It's time for North Fulton Business Radio.
Hello again, everyone. Welcome to another edition of North Fulton Business Radio. I'm John Ray, and folks, we've got a great show for you today, an important show. So stay tuned for Bill Neglia with Neglia Insurance Group. It's open enrollment time for health insurance. If you've got that plan or need to make changes in your plan, you're going to want to hear this show. Bill's a return guest, and he does great work. So hang on. But in the meantime, I want to let you know that if you're tired of that big bank experience, which basically involves automated voices and personal service that's non-existent, if that's what you're dealing with at your bank, Renaissance Bank is a place to check out. Here's what clients tell me that I refer to Renaissance. That Renaissance is big enough to handle pretty much any need you throw at them, but they're small enough to deliver their services in a personal way. That's a pretty magic combination, and that's what I hear from those that I refer over to Renaissance. So go to renaissancebank.com to learn more, learn where to be in touch. Renaissance Bank, understanding you, member FDIC. And now, again, I want to welcome Bill Neglia. Bill's a return guest, a good friend of mine, and he has a company called Neglia Insurance Group, his own agency. Bill, welcome.
Thank you, John. Glad to be here again, as always.
Yeah, great to have you here. This is an annual event, I think. We always meet in October, November every year to talk about open enrollment. It's that time of year.
Two words that are near and dear to my heart.
Right, for sure. Before we get into some of the changes for this year, let's talk about you. And why don't you give everyone a little summary of you and your work and how you've been at it all this time. You've been at it quite a while.
Yeah. Opened up the agency in 1983, going into our 41st year. Started out just by myself in a small little basement room, not even an office. And I've been at it ever since. And since then, I've added a full-time assistant. And I've got both my son and my son-in-law working with me. And I finally had to move from my home office this year to a commercial office over in Marietta. And it's been great. Health insurance in particular has been a very evolving industry. And this year we've had more changes than ever. And I'll be happy to talk about that in a sec.
So you've been there, done that when it comes to health insurance for many years, and you've seen pretty much everything. And we were talking before we came on the air, this has been one of a particularly noteworthy year. Maybe that's the right word for it, right?
Noteworthy, yes. Transitional, changing. Those are all good adjectives. Yes, this year in particular, especially for residents of Georgia, we've had more changes than I'd say since the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, Marketplace, whatever you call it, started 2014. The first change happened over the summer, and this was national, not just Georgia related, but the government made a ruling to reduce the term length of a policy called short-term major medical, which to this point had been the number one alternative to Marketplace, generally a good avenue for healthy folks, those that made too much money for tax credits and wanted a national PPO plan in the private market, could go get a short-term policy and lock it in for up to 3 years. That's now been reduced to a maximum of 4 months. Oh, it's really taken a lot of the luster off of that product. But as far as Georgia residents goes and the Marketplace, up to now, we've been dealing with healthcare.gov, the federal Marketplace. Starting policy year 2025, Georgia now has its own state-based website exchange called Georgia Access, and that's Georgia spelled out. Access.gov is the website. There are, obviously, today's only business day two of open enrollment.
Yeah,
it started on Friday.
We're recording this, folks, right at the beginning of November.
Yep. So open enrollment for folks under 65 for individual Marketplace health insurance started Friday, November 1. There were some glitches in the system that hopefully will be worked out, if not today, soon. But there is a new website. But the important thing to understand, John, is that if you're working with a broker, the situation or the circumstances are not much different. The broker and the broker quote and enrollment websites are still the same. So it's really for those that want to do it themselves, they need to go on this new site, which I don't recommend. The cost is exactly the same, whether you do it yourself or you do it through an agent.
Let's stop right there, because I think this is a really important point, Bill, that I think we need to underscore. That there are a lot of folks that have a misconception, to be nice about it, that if they do it themselves, they'll save money because they don't have to pay a commission to someone like you or any other health insurance broker. And that's just not true. So let's explain that.
Sure. The premium, the commission, if you want to break it out, is included in the price when somebody buys their health insurance. So whatever you pay, if it's $500, $1,000, $200, there's a commission already built into that price. When you buy direct, the insurance carrier just keeps it.
So in other words, the insurance company is making more money because you're doing it yourself and you're not getting the benefit of a professional like you that can prevent a lot of disasters that happen later, right? Well, where you've bought something that is not covering what you think it ought to.
Exactly. And a perfect case in point is just recently I had a woman give me a call. She went online. She lost her group insurance. She got terminated. It gave her a window to go out and get personal insurance through the marketplace. She went online, picked out a plan, signed up. And then when she went to use it, found out the doctor, her primary doctor, who was a cardiologist, doesn't take the insurance. So to make it even worse, her blood thinner, which she has to take on a daily basis, also wasn't covered under the plan she selected. And I asked her, why did you choose this plan? She said it was the cheapest.
Oh, dear.
And that's a cardinal mistake that most people make when they buy their own health insurance direct or through a call center. They buy based on price alone. And when you're going from a corporate PPO type plan to a personal HMO plan, which all the marketplace plans are HMOs, those are some of the things you have to examine first. Because the doctor networks are much smaller. The prescription drug lists are much narrower. And if you're not checking to make sure that this marketplace plan has what you need, price means nothing because you're just wasting your money. So I was able to do some due diligence that she didn't do herself and find a replacement plan that had her doctor, had her medication covered. She was still within her enrollment window. So we switched her over immediately into a more suitable plan. That's what I do on a daily basis.
That is striking, I guess is one word for it, but you've got a great point there, because what you're saying is that it doesn't matter how much money you think you saved. If it's not covered where you want to visit your primary doctor, you're just throwing away money.
The premium she thought she was saving, she lost in the first month.
Okay. Thank you for letting me interrupt you, because I thought it's really important that we get to that point, because this do-it-yourself is really chronic with business owners a lot of times, right?
It is, because again, the human nature, we think we know what we're doing. And again, if there's a thought out there that you can save money or commission by doing it yourself, some people gravitate to that and end up hurting themselves in the long run.
Now, there are some folks out there also that are using what you might call robocall kind of tactics, right? This time of year, it always pops up on your phone, a text or a robocall. Let's address where those are coming from.
So they're coming from call centers and robocall shops all throughout the country. Apparently, Florida is a hotbed for these organizations. And what they do, they either robocall, robotext, or in even worse cases, they will somehow gain access to a person's information as far as their policy. They'll go on the website and they will change. And this has been documented and chronicled on numerous Facebook posts, where they will just go in and change somebody's policy without their knowledge, make themselves the agent, and put the insured in a worse situation and a worse policy than they were before.
Wow.
And to try to get that changed over, it's very challenging, very difficult. And there's so much fraud right now that the government and the CMS, who oversees health insurance, the marketplace, agents have to go through hoops and multiple compliant forms and statutes and three-way calls. So all of these bad actors, as the phrase goes, have put the honorable and good agents in a tough spot, and it's created more work than ever before. But yeah, there's a lot of fraud going on, and it's because of these robocall, robotext bad actors.
So if you fall for that and decide that's where you're doing business, then you're encouraging bad behavior.
For sure. And the easiest way to do that is go online and just Google search health insurance. You will get inundated with calls, unsolicited, unwanted calls, text messages, and even perhaps somebody going in there and changing your policy for the worse.
Wow. Bill Neglia, folks. Neglia Insurance Group is his agency, longtime health insurance professional here in the North Fulton area. So let's talk about, I guess, there's been some improvements. We talked about some of the negatives. There have been some improvements here this year. Talk about some of those.
So as far as improvements goes, there's more access to different products. It's still the same companies that are in the marketplace, but there are some new products that, or not necessarily new, but probably more advertised and available than before, can still give folks an alternative to going onto the marketplace. There are personal PPO plans that are suited for self-employed business folks who either get their income through a 1099 or a K-1 situation. They run their own business and either get commission like myself, or they pay themselves a salary and just file a K-1 or a W-2, some sort of business entity, self-employed operations. Our office just started offering this plan up to our consumers. We've got about a dozen or so on the books. We've gotten good feedback. And again, they're PPO plans. They seem to be very cost effective for the right person. Again, it's not a one-size-fits-all situation, but for the healthy demographic who doesn't qualify for tax credit and doesn't want an HMO with limited doctors and prescription coverage, this plan seems to be a good fit. There's also another plan for those that just want bare bones, low cost, almost catastrophic, which many are out there, called indemnity plans. These are probably going to replace what used to be the short-term plans that used to be good indefinitely, or at least for a year or more. Indemnity plans have a good place in society. So yeah, we do have options outside of just the local and the national marketplaces, and we can certainly bring those to our clients' attention.
Bill, those business owners out there that they've got a pretty good sized plan, and if they're happy with their plan, should they? I'm of course setting you up with a softball question here. Should they just simply re-enroll in that same plan, or does it pay to go through the work?
So if you're talking about group, an employer with a group plan who's satisfied, absolutely. The key is going to be what happens at renewal,
right? Because
you got two types of group insurance plans depending on the size of the group. You got those plans that are called fully insured. They're generally for groups under or 50 and below. They don't ask medical questions. They just take everybody and they roll out a rate. And then at renewal, again, they don't look at the claims experience of the group. They just roll out a renewal rate, 10%, 15, 20, whatever, 5. And then there's level funded. And the level funded insurance plans actually have become much more popular and much more competitive, at least in Georgia over the last number of years. Probably 95% of my groups over the last 6-7 years have been all level funded. Those are the ones that do take into consideration overall health of the group, not only at the enrollment, but also at renewal based on claims experience.
Got it.
So it really all depends. But if the employer is happy with their plan and the renewal is reasonable, then it probably behooves them to just stay with it. But if they need shopping, then that's something that they should pursue, but they will be asked to provide documentation, information, claims, they're going to have to do a little bit of legwork. It's not going to be all agent driven.
Yeah, and this is where you can advise your clients on whether they ought to shop, or based on your knowledge of everything that's out there, right?
Yeah, we've got well over 100 corporate groups on the books, and we shop as needed. But there are some employers out there, they get a 2% increase, they want to shop. So that's what are you going to do? And then there's some that'll get a 10% increase and say, that's fine.
Yeah.
Everybody's an individual situation. We work with them like that.
Sure.
And if they want to shop, I'm there and I make myself available, tell them what I need, and we go through the process. But yeah, if you're happy, they say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
That applies to health insurance like anything else.
What do you see from your corporate clients, your business clients? What are they telling you in terms of employee demand for these benefits, which health insurance is an important benefit for employees?
Oh, absolutely. It's right up there. In some cases, even number one over salary, because the cost, people know that the cost to buy health insurance, if you have to pay the full premium, and if you have, let's say you have a family with a couple of kids, could be $25,000, $30,000 a year. So that's a benefit package, even if it's not fully covered by the employer. Let's say it's half partially paid for. That's still a $10,000 to $15,000 benefit to the employee. So yeah, all my employers, they primarily do it because they know they need it not only to attract employees, but to retain the ones they already have.
Bill Neglia, folks, with Neglia Insurance Group. He's the owner of this agency and principal agent, along with his son and son-in-law. So how are they doing?
Yeah, they're doing great. They're doing great. They both have full-time jobs.
Yeah.
They both have families, and each one has decided to do insurance on a part-time basis for now. They both have their own style. So they come to me for help as needed, but they're both running pretty much independent.
Good for them.
With the agency resources behind them.
Yeah,
they're doing great.
That's fantastic. Shout out to Dan and Zach, right?
Dan and Zach.
Yeah. Awesome. So what is Medicare? Let's talk about the Medicare piece of it. You do a little bit of that, but it's not your total focus.
Yeah, there's three elements to Medicare, or the Medigap. Part C, as others refer to it. There's Medicare Supplement, there's Medicare Advantage, and then there's Medicare Part D prescription plans. Our office strictly works with the Medicare Supplement piece. Personally and professionally, I believe it's the better option. So we just focus on that. We have multiple resources and contacts for those that want to look at the Advantage and need help with the prescription part. So we can indirectly assist with those services. And since you mentioned it, Medicare has its own open enrollment for the Advantage and the Part D. That started on the 15th of October, and that runs through December 7th. So it does not affect people on a supplement. Supplemental plans renew automatically every year.
Right.
And they don't have an open enrollment. So if you want to buy a different supplement down the road, you have to go through an application and an underwriting process. But if you want to switch out of a Advantage to another Advantage, or a drug plan to another drug plan, that has to be done during the annual enrollment period, which we're going through right now.
So, Bill, what do your business owner clients, your businesses, what do individuals, what else do they need to know we haven't covered for this cycle?
I think as far as the health insurance goes, I think we've covered pretty much all the elements and the angles. I think the takeaway has to be work with an agent, regardless of whether you're an individual, a solopreneur, a family, or a company with 50 employees. Work with a trusted professional agent. You're not going to pay more, and you're going to get the right advice and more than likely be put with the right policy.
Yeah, again, I know we've beaten this to death, but if this is a critical benefit for your employees, you really need to make sure that coverage is right. And because the worst thing that can happen is if you, as a business owner, sign up for a plan that doesn't properly cover your employees, and then you've got issues with potentially retention of key employees.
Oh yeah, and that issue will spread through the whole office like wildfire.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, business owners are susceptible to the same thing that individuals, like the lady I alluded to earlier. If they buy based on price without having somebody do all the due diligence, they can find themselves or their employees in the same situation of maybe getting a cheaper plan than they had before, but not getting the right coverage or having access to the doctors and the prescriptions that they need.
Yeah. Wow. Bill Neglia Insurance Group. Bill, this has been great. And I can't imagine there aren't some folks that think I really need to get with Bill. So let's tell them how they can do that.
Okay. Phone number is 404-433-8838. I'll repeat that, 404-433-8838. Or they can email me at bill@Neglia, Neglia Insurance, all spelled out, .com, bill@NegliaInsurance.com.
Bill Neglia Insurance Group. Bill, thanks again. Thanks for the great work you do and the way you serve our community. We appreciate your work.
Thank you, John. Appreciate it as always.
Thank you. Hey, folks, just a couple of quick things before we let you go for today. I've got a book out, and if you are a solo or small professional services firm and you're having issues around your value, your positioning, your business development, or your pricing, this book is written expressly for you. It's called The Generosity Mindset, A Journey to Business Success by Raising Your Confidence, Value, and Prices. Go to thegenerositymindset.com to learn more and to learn where to buy the book. Also, I just want to thank you, our listeners. You are tremendous. You have supported us in so many different ways over the years, and to such a point that we are now, this is something like show number 825 or something. I lost track, but the point is you have kept us going, kept us the wind at our backs, and you do that in very simple ways. You share the show, you like us on social media, you send the show to people that may need the services of our guests like Bill, and you send us great guests too from time to time. And in all those different ways, you help us live into our mission to be the voice of business in the North Fulton region and beyond. And I'm grateful to you for that. So thank you. Thank you for your support. So for my guest, Bill Neglia, I'm John Ray. Join us next time here on North Fulton Business Radio.